own intelligence. It's not possible. Krishna says that, in Bhagavad says that, Bhaktya Mam Abhijanati, that only a devotee can understand me. So he never says by other processes you can understand him. Only by devotional service one can understand Krishna. Okay, so still we have two of you leading the quiz and many of you with 10 points. I think more 3 questions to go. Okay. Question number 8. The ultimate goal of bhakti is 1. Liberation from cycle of birth and death. 2. Union with the divine through love and devotion. 3. Attaining enlightenment through self-realization. And 4. Attaining mystic powers. Yes.
3.
Attaining enlightenment through self-realization is wrong answer. And there is correct in one sense, but there is a more appropriate answer. Sorry, I didn't see. Anuja. Liberation from cycle of birth and death. No, that's the wrong answer. But you get -5. Last, yeah. You.
Sir, option B.
Option B is the correct answer. So there's 2 options I eliminated before. What's your name?
Bishop.
Rishabh gets 10 points. And -5 and -5. Anyways, I think. Not correct. So now we have 2 questions left. And still 2 of you leading with 20 points. It's becoming tight. Question 9. Lord Krishna advises Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita to option 1, fight so that he can win the battle and enjoy the kingdom. Option 2, fight so that he can avenge. Option 3, fight selflessly without expectation. And option 4, remember Krishna and fight. Oh my god. You see?
Yeah. So fight selflessly without any expectation.
Fight selflessly without any expectation. Is the wrong answer.
Okay. Then, now all of you like lower your hands. Then again we'll.
No. Okay, so we'll pass this. I think this question. So, yeah, the correct answer is 4. Remember this one. And last question of the quiz, because I think there's some. Well, not once, it's 1. So one can become God by 1, performing devotional service. 2, by performing severe austerities and penances. 3, by meditation. And 4, no one can ever become God. She raised her hand first. 4 is the correct answer. No one can ever become God. So we have now in 3 ties. 1, 2 and 3 with 20 points. So it's tough.
I have a -5, so it's just.
Oh, she had a -5. Okay. So 2 of them leading with 20 points. Right? So you can never become God by any means. No matter how much you practice meditation or do severe austerities, or it's not that one can become God. God is always God. And God was, and Krishna was, he appeared at that time also he was good. He showed the 400 form Vishnu. He didn't have to undergo any severe austerities to become God. When he was 7 years old, he lifted over. He didn't have to go to gym. to lift for the training. So he was having all this thing. So there are many spiritualists also who think that the purpose of practicing spirituality is to become God in the end. But one can never become God. There is a difference between God and a living entity. Okay, so now we have 10 more minutes and we have another quiz. Yeah, you can come front. Please.
Please move forward.
Please move
Everyone,
forward.
more devotees to come, they request it. Please move forward.
There is so much space here. And just come.
Please, please, please. A little bit. Please. There are more devotees who will be coming in seconds. Please. Thank you so much.
Struggling to set up the first quiz. Okay, so Chaitanya will take the next quiz.
Okay, sir.
So this will be a super fast quiz because we don't have time. We only have 5 minutes. So there are only 20 seconds. You have to raise hand fast.
Okay, so first is the law of karma only applies to action
All
performed
disqualified for it.
in this lifetime. True or false?
There's 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Yeah. Skip this question.
Does good karma nullify the bad karma? Yes, good karma cancel out the effects of bad karma? No. Good and bad karma are separate and distinct. Third, it depends on the intensity of good karma compared to bad karma. And fourth, some of the good karma can nullify bad karma, not at all.
No one? First.
Second one.
Huh?
You?
Second. Yes, so she gets 10 points. What's your name?
Puja.
Pooja. Still we have 2 who are leading the quiz with 20 points.
Next question. Can the soul be influenced or affected by external factors? First, no, the soul is immutable and unaffected by external circumstances. Second, yes, the soul can be shaped and influenced by life experiences and actions. Third, only during the process of reincarnation. And fourth, it depends on one's personal belief system.
First option. Option is the correct answer. So Harshal gets 10 points.
What is the purpose of practicing yoga? Physical fitness and flexibility. Second, self-realization. Third, stress reduction and relaxation. And fourth, enhancing psychic abilities.
First is
Self-realization.
self-realization. Correct answer. Round of applause. You have to clap when you give the correct answer. Okay, so 5th question.
What is the role of intelligence, buddhi? Intelligence is the source of all distractions and should be suppressed. Second, intelligence can discriminate and make decisions to control the mind. Third, intelligence has no influence on the mind and its control. And fourth, intelligence is synonymous with the mind and cannot be distinguished.
B. B is the correct answer. So now we have one, what's her name? Sushma is leading with 30 points.
So, next question. What is the best way of self-realization in this age? First, silent meditation. Second, performing fire sacrifices. Third, severe austerities. And fourth, chanting holy names.
I can't give B, but I think it's B.
It's
B.
so no one gets the points for this question. Chanting holy name is correct answer, but no one gets the point.
It should give wrong answer,
Yeah.
so we should correct.
Minus.
Karma Yoga emphasizes surrendering to a higher power, attaining knowledge through self-study and contemplation. Third, selfless action without attachment to the results. And fourth, work should be done and research should be offered to Lord.
Kumar is C. Huh? C is the wrong answer. I said the second. Option D. But he said option D, so he gets 10 points. Okay. Three last questions.
How should one take important decisions of the life? First, based on the scriptures. Second, based on one's desires. Third, based on one's own discriminatory intelligence. And fourth, based on one's likes.
Stand first.
Option
Option?
Correct.
Option is the correct answer. So, Harshal gets 10 points. What is the score? Who is the first?
Harshal and Sushma.
Oh, Harshal and Sushma are leading now with 30 points. So this is the deciding question, by the way. Oh my God. No, we have two questions. So let's see. God is
formless, God is light, God is person, and God is energy.
first. Huh? Option 4 is wrong answer. Kumar is
person.
God is person, correct answer. Now the problem. God is a person. Last question. Otherwise we are tie up in first place.
What is the final message of Bhagavad Gita? First, surrender unto Supreme Lord. Second, do good to others. Third, do your duty without attachment to results. And fourth, engage in pious activities.
A.
Puja.
Yes, A.
Oh. So, well done, all of you. We have two winners, Sushma and Harshal, both of them leading with 30 points.
Yeah, Aarti, Pooja, and Kumar.
Aarti, Pooja, and Kumar are second with how many points? 20 points. And third,
Kushi with 15.
Kushi with 15 points. Okay, nice participation. So now we'll proceed to the next part of our event. Okay, so before that, humble request, kindly move ahead. We have a lot of space ahead. Prizes will be given in the end, after the lecture. Will be given.
Come here. Come here, come here.
I think it's okay.
completely.
Can you check the mic? Is it working? Is the mic working?
What's that?
Is the mic
How many of you are from the summer batch? Anyone from the summer batch? Thank you once again for joining us for our summer welcome program here. So after the event, please reach us because we would like to share with you what programs we do, what activities we do with the students. We get almost like 70 to 80 students they come regularly. So daily and weekly programs. So we would also love to have you part of those activities. And we do a lot of fun activities. We go to different camps, different retreats, and we go to different places. And all the students who go to these places will actually have a great fun. And we would love to also have you to be part of those activities. So today's are very, especially for all of us, because we have a very special guest amongst us. He travels once in a year, and sometimes twice in a year. So this time we have an opportunity to have him in the month of July. His name is Niranjana Swami. He is actually very well known here because he was born here in Massachusetts, in Lowell, and he went to college like all of you. Then later on, he happened to be in the book. In the 1970s, he got in touch with the devotees, read the Gita, and then he started going to the temple, the ISKCON Hare Krishna temple. This is the oldest temple which we, in the entire Massachusetts, we have this one. In 1969, we started at North Beacon Street. And then later we moved there in 1974. When we moved here, he became a temple president, and then from 1979 to 83, for 4 years, before that he was already serving the temple in different capacities. Later on, then he happened to take sannyas in 1986. Then he started traveling all over the world. He increased his services in different capacities, where he was in charge of different countries. So primarily he teaches and preaches in Ukraine and Russia, which all of you are aware right now because that's where the war is going on, and the many other countries. He travels also to different countries, including India and United States of America. And he has attracted many hearts, many souls in Russia, Ukraine, and the erstwhile USSR countries there. And he's very well known in ISKCON community for his soulful singing for chanting. And so today we have the opportunity to immerse ourselves in the meditative way, in those chanting of the Hare Krishna Maharaj. So let's welcome wholeheartedly His Holiness Niranjana Swami by giving him a round of applause. So today's topic, because I know he's going to speak on one of the topics which is very relevant to all of us. So in youth, what is the relevance of bhakti to us? So why, should we actually pursue that or not? One of the questions which I had and many people also had. So whether can we do that, or why should we do that? So that's the topic which his students learning on will focus on. So without much the bhakti should we practice the bhakti in the youth stage, the age of youth? Because he himself was youth, and that's when he got attracted to Krishna consciousness, to the bhakti. So let's give him once again a round of applause. his Muktamandipuru to honor him by gathering him. Is it okay? Should we wait?
Huh?
Should we wait or should we come?
After the
Okay, fine. So the program, how it will go? So Maharaj will first do the singing, the chanting. So after that, then he will talk, and then followed by a stop. There will be again there will be a darshan of Kirtan. And then after that, there will be prasad. So while honoring the food, if anyone has any questions after the stop, you can feel free to approach him and have a talk with him. Thank you. Hare Krishna. This is what we have for tonight's program.
Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Devi Bhagavani Vishesha Shanti. Thank you all for coming here this evening, giving me this opportunity to share with all of you something that's been shared with me beginning over 50 years ago, as you heard. When I first came in contact with Bhagavad Gita, it was in 1972. And although I studied a lot of philosophy books, prior to that, somehow I found Bhagavad Gita to be the most compelling. So I decided to try it. I'm still trying. 50 years. So it's very fulfilling opportunity that was given to me by my spiritual master, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who accepted me as his disciple in 1974. And since then I have been aspiring to serve him and follow his teachings and instructions as given in Bhagavad Gita. I heard that the topic I'm speaking on is practicing Bhakti Yoga in youth, correct? I suppose that that topic is meant to be relevant to all of you. You have youth. I had youth. And fortunately, I didn't waste it completely. I came first in contact with Krishna consciousness when I was, how old was I? 19 or 20. So before that, I think all of you have a much better foundation than I did. Having come from a different culture, I was raised in a place where there was no culture, and I was a teenager in the 1960s, so I'll leave the rest up to your imagination. But somehow, Srila Prabhupada, my spiritual master, he took full advantage of our revolutionary spirit, and he tried to induce us to take up a mission which was something very high, something very profound, and something which attracted us. And for many of us who came in those early years of the Krishna consciousness movement, it was really something that was more than compelling, as it was consuming, to serve his mission and to follow the teachings of Lord Krishna as given in Bhagavad Gita. I would say, maybe, it's hard to say, but the times are a little bit different, but the message is the same. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, he gave this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita to the sun god Vivaswan, and before that Ikshvaku and Manu. So it goes back many hundreds and thousands and millions of years. The message is always the same. One of the questions I just saw that was asked, what is the ultimate goal of the teachings of Bhagavad Gita? And what was it? I forgot. What was it? I didn't forget, I'm just testing. I'm doing the same thing they were doing to you. Can anyone tell me? The ultimate goal. Muktavalya, can you tell me?
To surrender to Krishna.
Surrender to Krishna, yes. Culminates in the verse, we already got the answer. Savadamam Parichaja Mamikam Sharanamraja. So I wanted to read a verse that's not from Bhagavad Gita, it's from Srimad Bhagavatam. I'm just going to read the verse, and this is a small part of the commentary. Because if we're going to talk about practicing, we're going to talk about bhakti and its relevance for those who are still in their youthful years. Why should we practice? Why do we have to practice? I'd like to try to address that point. Why practice is necessary, and also would like to speak or elaborate a little bit on what are the different methods of engaging in bhakti, and how it can be very attractive to everyone in all stages of life, even a child. Again, Srila Prabhupada often said that even a child can take up this chanting and dancing. Nobody is barred. And when Lord Chaitanya was present 500 years ago, he even went beyond that and had the animals chanting and dancing too. And of course, Prabhupada did say that we may not be so potent to induce animals to chant and dance, and what to speak of chanting and dancing with great ecstasy and love. But at least we can try to induce the human beings to chant and dance. This verse is Srimad Bhagavatam. It's a verse that was revealed to Lord Brahma within his heart. There's a verse in the Bhagavatam, Teni Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavi Muyanti Yat Surya, which means that the depth of Vedic wisdom was first impregnated into the heart of the first created being of the universe, Lord Brahma. And that Vedic wisdom was the reason why is because Lord Brahma, being the first created being, he had no one to sit in front of to accept as a spiritual master, which was one of the questions there. All he, being the first created being, he found himself sitting on top of a lotus flower, and he was all alone. And as described in the Srimad Bhagavatam, when Lord Brahma is created, then there's nothing present except the place where he appeared, which is the stem of the lotus flower. So, being inquisitive, which is a good quality, he decided that he would try to search out the source of this seat that he was sitting on. So he came out from the flower of the lotus, and he began climbing down the stem of the lotus flower. And if any of you have ever seen before a picture of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, he's lying on the ocean. From his navel is coming a lotus stem and a lotus flower, and from the lotus flower comes Lord Brahma, who's the first created being in the universe, and he is the secondary creator of everything within the universe. Just like a gardener, he doesn't create plants, he takes the seeds which are coming from another place, and he plants them. He's the secondary creator, and he plants the seeds and takes care of his garden. The same way Lord Brahma is the secondary creator, and he takes the seeds of creation which are given to him by Lord Vishnu. And from those seeds of creation, he creates all the different species of life. But first, when he appeared, there was nothing there, and he was a little uncertain about what his purpose was for being there. So he thought he would check out what's below him. So he came out from the lotus flower, climbed down the stem of the lotus flower, and there was this ocean of water below, and he stuck his head into the ocean. Where is this coming from? The stem he wanted to see. And then when he stuck his head in the ocean, he heard vibrating 2 syllables, tapa. Anybody can tell me what tapa means? Tapa. No Sanskrit scholars. Austerity. Yes. He took those words that he heard when he put his head in the Dark Ocean, he took those words to be divine. And he climbed back into this lotus seat and he began performing meditation for 1,000 celestial years. And after performing that meditation, trying to understand the source of his being, the Lord appeared to him and revealed to him the depth of Vedic wisdom in the form of 4 verses. And from those 4 verses, everything else was expanded upon, beginning from 4 verses that were revealed within the heart of Lord Brahma. This is 1 verse, which is the Srimad Bhagavatam. Ritetam yat pratiyeta na pratiyeta chatmati tad vidyad atmano mayam yata bhaso yata sama. O Brahma, whatever appears to be of any value, if it is without relation to me, has no reality. Know it as my illusory energy, that reflection which appears to be in darkness. So this is one of the verses Krishna revealed to Brahma. He says, anything that you see in this world, if you don't see how it's connected to me, then it's actually my illusory energy. It's still connected to Krishna, but Krishna says it's my energy. Mama Maya Virakti. Because everything ultimately has its origin in Krishna. So in the purport, in the previous verse it has already been concluded that in any stage of the cosmic manifestation, its appearance, its sustenance, its growth, its interactions of different energies, its deterioration and its disappearance, all has its basic relation with the existence of the personality of Godhead. And as such, whenever there is forgetfulness of this prime relation with the Lord, and whenever things are accepted as real without being related to the Lord, that conception is called the product of the illusory energy of the Lord. Because nothing can exist without the Lord, it should be known that the illusory energy is also an energy of the Lord. The right conclusion of dovetailing everything in relationship with the Lord is called Yogamaya, or the energy of union. And the wrong conception of detaching a thing from its relationship with the Lord is called the Lord's Daivimaya or Mahamaya. Both the Mayas also have connections with the Lord, because nothing can exist without him. As such, the wrong conception of detaching relationships with the Lord is not false, but illusory. There's a description that further on in this commentary that describes that everything that we see in this world is simply a reflection. Or, as we described in the verse, know it as my illusory energy, that reflection which appears to be in darkness. Reflection is a projection of light into darkness. But reflection cannot exist without the source, light, and there has to be darkness. These are two relative energies that have to exist for reflection to exist. Darkness is when light is covered. Reflection is a projection of light into the darkness. So this world is described as a reflection of the spiritual world. It makes me think once, I have a little story that I oftentimes tell of an experience I had, which was at the time. But it really kind of fulfills this conception of a reflection. I was once standing outside, in fact, I was in Ukraine. I was standing outside the door of somebody's home, and we were talking. And conversation started to continue for some time as we were standing there. And this person, he had a guard dog, a big dog. And as I was standing there, we both noticed that the guard dog was, seemed to be manifesting madness. I don't know how to describe it. It just looked mad because what the dog was doing is the dog was running, and he would run into a brick wall and gnaw his teeth into the brick wall. And it was obvious that the dog was trying to do something, but couldn't figure out what he was trying to do. And he would go back, stand again, and then we'd look at the dog, lunge again into the wall, and gnaw his mouth to the point of his grinding his mouth against the wall, and he would come away again. And he did this repeatedly, and I asked him, "Is there something wrong with your dog?" And he said he hadn't seen it before. And then I noticed, as I was standing there, I noticed that the sunlight was hitting my watch. And from my watch, it was projecting a projection of light, a reflection, onto the wall. And the dog was chasing it and anticipating that there'd be some fruit by lunging into the wall and catching it. Each time he failed. But when I looked at this example of this dog behavior of the dog, I began to think that actually it's quite similar for those who don't understand that the real substance is eternal, spiritual, and this world is simply a reflection of the spiritual world. And Lord Brahma heard from Krishna that whatever you perceive in this world of any value, if you don't see how it's connected to me, then you should know it's my illusory energy, or the projection of light into the darkness, which basically means if we see something valuable but we don't see how it's connected to Krishna, we think it's valuable because it's connected to me. But actually, that's a wrong conception, because everything ultimately is connected to Krishna. And the whole essence of the teachings of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Aham sarvasya prabhu matak savata vartate iti matva bhajati mam buddha bhava samanvata. I'm the source of the material and the spiritual worlds. Everything is coming from me. And the wise who know this perfectly, they engage in my devotional service and they worship me with all of their hearts. Now, why am I bringing that topic up? Because we're supposed to be talking about practicing bhakti in youth. The reason why I'm bringing that topic up is because it's very natural. The example is given in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, or Nectar of Devotion, by our spiritual master, that every child has a natural propensity to walk. It's natural, it's innate within the child. Yet sometimes we may see a child getting up and practicing with a little help from his parents. Usually at some stage of the life, the parent takes the child's hand and begin to walk with the child. The child stumbles a little bit, but the parent's always there to hold the hand and to keep the child from hurting himself or herself. But still the practice is there, but it's natural. No one will say, oh, look at that child. Why is the child practicing walking? Why? Because it's natural. In the same way, in this world, the perverted reflection, every living being has a natural propensity to serve. The only difference is that that natural propensity to serve, which is innate within every living entity, which is called Sanatana Dhamma, or Dhamma. Srila Prabhupada used to give the example that Dharma is that which constitutes an object. For instance, Dharma of sunshine is heat and light. The Dharma of water is liquidity. The Dharma of a human being is service. If we don't serve the source of the entire creation, then we have to serve. We all have masters to serve. We serve the masters, illusory masters, temporary, that we've somehow found ourselves in the course of life. Government serves the citizens serve the government, the parent serves the child serves the parent, the husband serves the wife serves the husband, parent serves the children serve the parents, teacher serves the students serve the teacher. We find that so much relationship of service, it's a natural propensity to serve. But the real innate propensity to serve is meant to be directed towards the Supreme. And therefore it's very natural to serve. But what's unnatural is to serve illusory masters who cannot fully satisfy the self. Bhagavatam says, Savai Pung Samparo Damo Uto Bhaktirin Bhuksache. The supreme occupation for all mankind is that by which men can render devotional service to the Lord. Such service must be unmotivated, uninterrupted, to really satisfy the self. Srila Prabhupada used to give the example of a person who has a golden bird cage. Every morning they wake up and polish the cage. And I'm anticipating that each morning I'm doing this, that I'll have a very brilliant cage if I continue to polish it. But actually, if one continues to polish the cage, neglecting the needs of the bird inside, one day may have a very brilliant cage, but in due course of time, if one doesn't feed the bird, it will die. So in the same way, if we serve the body, we don't recognize the needs of the self, then it's very difficult to be self-satisfied. In fact, one of the answers of the question is, what is the purpose of practicing Bhakti Yoga? So one of the answers that was given is self-realization, which is not wrong. It wasn't the actual answer that they were looking for, but it's not wrong. Self-realization. But what is the self? Who is the self? So the natural engagement for every living being is to render service to the Supreme, and such service will satisfy the self when the service is aimed for the pleasure of the Supreme. So just as a young child has to practice walking, every living being has to practice serving the Supreme. And sometimes that practicing, that endeavor to practice, may seem to be artificial, but it's not. There's a verse in one of the scriptures that the name, transcendental name, form, qualities, and pastimes of Krishna, they're all transcendentally sweet, just like sugar candy. But someone who has been afflicted by the jaundice of the avidya cannot taste anything sweet. It's the nature of jaundice. You have jaundice, you eat sugar, it's bitter. Unfortunately, the only cure is to eat sugar. So it's very wonderful, as this verse says, that if one goes on chanting this sweet name, although it's bitter, because one has the jaundice of avidya, ignorance. then what happens, a very natural attraction will awaken, and the disease of avidya will be destroyed at the root. Just as the person who has jaundice keeps on eating sugar, then gradually the jaundice becomes cured. So this natural activity of bhakti, which is innate within every living being, a natural proclivity to serve, is there within every living being, but it needs to be practiced. So, practicing of bhakti, we've covered these 2 points. Now let's talk about in youth. Let's try to apply that in a way that they seem to be relevant. When I think of what youths like to do, I was admiring how these devotees were putting up these questions and creating a competitive spirit, because that's part of our youthfulness. Sometimes we have that competitive spirit in the form of different games. In fact, Prahlad Maharaj, who was a 5-year-old boy, he was telling his friends, his classmates in school, he said, don't waste your human form of life. If you're not careful, you can waste so many years of your life, and part of those years in youth can be wasted in frivolous games. So instead of frivolous games, if there's some competition which is aimed at realizing or understanding the Supreme, then it's not frivolous. There's a goal of it. In fact, our spiritual master, I can tell you, Srila Prabhupada, he used to do this to his followers. He used to put us in competition with each other. But it was spiritual competition. Sometimes he would go to a temple. Srila Prabhupada was a very effulgent, self-realized, pure soul who inspired us to do something substantial to satisfy the Lord, because he was such a perfect example. And everybody was always eager to have his association. I mean, first time I saw him, I just fell on the ground at the airport and cried. I'd been hankering to see him for years. And because my only meeting with him before seeing him in his physical form was by reading his Bhagavad Gita as it is, which I received in 1972. So, but because his Bhagavad Gita as it is was so compelling, I decided to begin serving him even before personally meeting him. But Prabhupada, he would travel from temple to temple, and he would go and he would deliver lectures. He would try to inspire his followers to do some substantial service to please Krishna. He was always keen on publishing his books, because that was the instruction he received from his spiritual master, to give the world Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita. He produced volumes, 60 volumes of different books, presented it to the world in the English language. Then he would ask his disciples to help him serve the order of his spiritual master by publishing and distributing these books. So sometimes he would go to a temple, and he would arrive at the temple and he would give his arrival address, speaking to all the assembled devotees who were very enthusiastic to receive him. And he would say, I have been to this temple, I have been to this temple, and I've been to this temple, now I am here, and I can tell you that this is the best. The devotees would all be so very, you can imagine. I mean, we really gave our life breath. And to hear him say something like this really inspired us. And then he would continue his travels, and he would go to another temple. In due course of time, he would say, I have come from this place, I have come from this place, I've come from the other place. And now that I see all of you, and I see how enthusiastic and bright-faced you are, I can say that this temple is the best. And devotees would go. And then he would create a competition amongst the devotees. Who can distribute more books? Who can do more to please Krishna, please Lord Chaitanya? But the competition was with Krishna at the center. It was not mundane competition. It was meant to serve Krishna and to please Krishna. So he took advantage of our youthful vigor by inciting different ways to inspire us. Another way was through festivals. Another way was through prasadam. But through festivals is a very wonderful way. I saw here, what was it, 2 weeks ago, excuse me, with hundreds of you. Maybe some of you were present. Who was present at Rath Yatra? Anybody here? Oh, just see. Who engaged in some service in Rath Yatra? Very good. Wonderful. There's so many, these festivals, of course, in the spiritual world, it's described that it's a festival every day. Where spiritual world is described by Lord Brahma in his Brahma Samhita, where all walking is dancing, all talking is singing, and all water is just like pure nectar, and all the trees are just like wish-fulfilling desire trees that can satisfy anyone's desire just simply by going to the tree, whatever desire may be. That is the nature of the spiritual world. And the residents there are engaged in the festival every day because Krishna's at the center and they're all eagerly, enthusiastically playing and chanting and singing and dancing. And festivals are a source of enjoyment, especially for youth. There's so many different ways, by cooking prasadam, serving prasadam, dramas. It's a way to really to become absorbed in a way that's positive, that's meant for festive and meant for self-realization. Srila Prabhupada used to tell us in his lectures, he used to give the example of a child. The child sometimes may be found to be playing with something very dangerous. For instance, a child may play with knives. Dangerous business for a child to play with a knife. I wouldn't recommend anybody offering knives to a child that haven't played. But sometimes you might find them holding a knife and playing with it, and you're thinking, how to take the knife away from the child? And if you try to take the knife away, the child could resist and it becomes more dangerous. Is this connected? Okay, just checking. Didn't know if I had to leave time for it. Okay. So, it's dangerous business to try to take the knife away from the child. But if you hand the child a nice colorful toy, then taking the knife away is no longer very dangerous because the child is very much inclined to accept the toy and has to drop the knife to take it. That's what Srila Prabhupada has done through festivals, through chanting, feasting, dancing. They're all very natural and festive ways. We have the perverted reflections, we have nightclubs, dancing. What's that called? Karaoke? People go on it's after my time. I just seen it. I heard about it. Because I asked somebody one time, I see these signs everywhere. What is it? And somebody told me people go in there and they take a microphone, right? They sing along with the recording. Is that what it is? It's a perverted reflection. But it's a natural propensity that has been reflected in this world in a way that people try to derive pleasure for themselves. But the problem is that, as just as Krishna revealed to Lord Brahma, if you see something valuable, only relationship to yourself, it's illusory. It can't satisfy the self. It's just something like a reflection of light projected into the darkness. It's just simply like the dog who's lunging at that reflection in the wall, trying to get some substance, but there's nothing there. A little there. But to really meet the needs of the self, something more substantial is required. That's what practicing bhakti in youth, there's so many different ways to practice bhakti in youth that will fulfill the needs of the soul. It doesn't require complete surrender. It just simply requires something that everybody has. Everybody has it. You can't live without it. Does anybody know what it is? Desire. Everyone has desire. And if we simply develop a desire to do something which is dovetail for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord, that's what these temples are here for. These temples are here to create a festive atmosphere for singing, for dancing, for dramas, for eating wonderful food, for distributing food. Even cleaning the temple can be a festival. I remember in 1975, we used to have a festival once a month, cleaning the temple. Many of us would come together, we'd go throughout all the different places of the temple looking to clean, and then after cleaning, we would take little Radha Krishna on a palanquin to show them the fruit of our efforts to clean the temple. It was a festival. We go throughout every single room, into the ashram, we go into the kitchen, we go into the hallways, we went everywhere and showed them, and we all just were doing it, not cleaning it for myself, but cleaning it for their pleasure. And then after, we have a big feast. It was a festival. Of course, I'm not trying to induce something artificial. One time my godbrother's young son, he went on a festival tour with the youth. The youth is called the youth tour. They have a bus that travels to different festivals throughout America. And the youth helped them with putting on the festivals. And my godbrother's son, he had a particular problem with what he was told. He said they put you to work hard and they tell you it's fun. He didn't really. But actually many of them were having a great time. It just so happens he wasn't so satisfied by the hard work that was required. But that's the activity, natural activity, the natural proclivity of the soul is to serve. Why not do something that can satisfy the self? That's all. Do something to satisfy the self. Have quizzes on Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrita. Have gatherings. Have tests, tests amongst yourself. Compete amongst yourself. See who can please Krishna the most. But in spiritual life, spiritual competition is much different than mundane competition. Spiritual competition means I want to do better to please Krishna, but never at the expense of hurting somebody else or stopping their service to Krishna. That's the difference between spiritual competition and mundane competition. Mundane competition, the person thinks, let me make everybody look bad so I can look good. But that's not the kind of competition that's on the spiritual platform. Spiritual platform is let me please Krishna, and let me encourage others to please Krishna, and let me try to please Krishna better so they will be inspired to please Krishna better, but never at the expense of diminishing their service to Krishna. These are spiritual activities which can be practiced in any stage of life, but especially for youth. So Prabhupada did it to us. We were all so much younger than he was. Then somehow he motivated us in such a way that we're still doing it. Every good endeavor begins with the first step. I encourage all of you to practice bhakti now at this stage of your life, and see for yourself if you can find some pleasure in these activities which are actually satisfy the self. It's my time. I should stop here. I was told to stop at 8 o'clock. Thank you very much for your kind attention. I hope what I said is relevant to all of you youth. Thank you. Hare Krishna. What's next? Huh?
Like to give prizes to those who want.
Prizes! Oh, that's wonderful.
And now also they have additional prizes if you wish to ask them a question and any of this bonus prizes.
No, I won't. I don't want it. Just whatever you have already planned. What are we doing now? You're gonna call people and give them prize. Can I ask what the prizes are for?
For?
What are the prizes for?
The quiz winners.
Oh, the quiz. Okay, got it.
Hare Krishna. So, thank you for the wonderful class, Maharaj. It was really inspiring to hear words of wisdom from you. So now I'll call on people who won the quiz, starting with third prize. So the third prize goes to Kushi with 15 points. Is Kushi here? I think no. Okay. Then second prize we have 4. 1, 2, 3. Sorry, 3. 3 of them have got second prize. Pooja,
Second prize. Yes.
please come. Round of applause for Pooja. And Aarti. Round of applause for Aarti.
Why was she always disqualified?
She raised the hand before I finished. So that was the rule of the quiz. And also Kumar with 20 points. Second prize. And now the first prize. So we have 2 first prize winners. The tie between Shushma and Harshal. So Shushma, please round of applause for Shushma. First prize with 30 points. And Harshal also with 30 points. Does anybody have any questions? Or okay, so we are almost approaching the time. I'll just take 5 more minutes.
I'm finished here, right? I can get up.
So after all, we want to sing Kirtan.
Okay, so we'll have darshan now, and we'll sing kirtan, and then after the kirtan, just 5 minutes announcements, and then most awaited part, prasadam.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna
श्री श्री राधा गोपी वल्लभ भगवान की जय। श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा महारानी की जय। श्री श्री गौर निताय की जय। श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। His Holiness Niranjana Swami Maharaj की जय। हरे कृष्णा।